Hello! Today we're going to look at Wonder Boy on the Master System from 1986. What I want to do in these videos is analyse what made certain classic games so special. I'm not going to be so much reviewing them, it's just seeking to understand them better. It's really just to give me an excuse to dive deeper into experiences that meant something to me as a child, so that I can understand them better as an adult. Of course, in doing that, there's every danger that I'll realise that some of these were only special to me because I didn't understand what they'd ripped off from other games. The danger is that they just won't stand up to scrutiny. That said, for me there's no better place to start than Wonder Boy. Playing it on my new Sega Master System in 1986 was my first experience of having something that felt like an arcade game running at home. Sure, it flickered a bit, well, sometimes a lot, but the graphics supported directly from the arcade, which felt pretty amazing for someone who had previously been playing monochrome games on the ZX Spectrum and staring longingly at the C64 colour screenshots on the back of game packaging. I'd have to admit that the instant loading followed by the vibrant full-colour world would have been more than enough to impress me back then. I was of course totally ignorant of the game's inspirations. All I knew was that I loved playing it and was a bit jealous that my older brother always got further. The game follows TomTom, our blonde hero's quest to rescue his green-haired girlfriend Tina from the evil king using only stone axes, a hopelessly impractical skateboard with some excellent safety equipment, a part-time guardian angel, and a massive overabundance of fruit, which is needed to keep our hero's vitality bar up and stop him instantly dying. That red-haired girl we saw a moment ago is apparently Pina, Tina's sister. The setting is Ursat's Pacific Island, with grass skirts and tiki-style totem poles in abundance. That Tina's sister is named after a Caribbean cocktail is neither here nor there. After all, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada. The dolls that double your score seem to be little models of your girlfriend, so presumably show you're on the right track. There's nothing at all creepy about collecting little doll versions of your girlfriend. You sometimes hear it suggested that Wonder Boy owes something to Super Mario Bros. That's somewhat inevitable because Mario came out the year before, but to me this seems wide of the mark. Wonder Boy is to its core an arcade game, whereas Mario, designed from the start for the Nintendo Entertainment System, never felt like one. No one's going to pretend that Mario wasn't the more influential game. That doesn't mean that Mario is universally superior either. If I had played Mario when I was 8, I'm sure I would have been delighted by its intricacy, its secrets, and its fundamentally solid gameplay. But I'm also sure it would have been a very different experience to playing Wonder Boy. Mechanically and tonally, they just feel too distinct. More like cousins than parent and child. So where did Wonder Boy come from? Enter stage left, the great granddaddy of all cute arcade characters, Pac-Man himself. Digging into the history now, the similarities are better explained by the fact that clearly both Super Mario Bros. And Wonder Boy owe a lot to 1984's Pac-Land. Set in a primary colour world, Pac-Land undoubtedly does have significant similarities to Wonder Boy. The forest sections, the randomly placed fruit, and the fairies all look pretty similar. They both have insanely upbeat music too. I don't particularly like the graphics, but they must be pretty good because my 11-year-old son says it looks better than Mario or Wonder Boy. That said, the gameplay is quite distinct. Wonder Boy is a one-way trip, whereas Pac-Man retains the ability to run back after the ghosts whenever he wants so he can take his revenge after eating a power pill. This is the fundamental connection between Pac-Land and Pac-Man, and it makes for a very different experience. In many ways, Pac-Land's problem is that its back and forth gameplay that works so well in a tight maze prevents it from embracing the simple, pure flow that comes with speeding across a landscape as quickly as possible. Of course, Pac-Land's real problem is that it didn't receive a home port outside Japan until 1988, by which time it looked simplistic and, ironically, formulaic. I think if it had been in our living rooms earlier, it would be recognised as the original classic side-scrolling platformer. I hadn't played it before making this video, and I've basically come away very impressed with it. That said, I think 8-year-old me would have found the look of Pac-Land off-puttingly childish. We also need to take note of an even earlier side-scrolling game, Jungle King, from 1982, which was originally based around a Tarzan figure, as shown here, before the company involved was sued by the Tarzan rights holders, changed him into a hunter, and the game into Jungle Hunt. TomTom looks very much like a young Tarzan figure, with a bit of Barney Rubble thrown in maybe, so there may well have been a bit of inspiration from this direction. There really hadn't been many side-scrolling platformers before Wonder Boy came out, so it is noteworthy that one of the few that existed had a somewhat similar setting. That said, the vine-swinging mechanic and the swimming sections don't appear in the original Wonder Boy, so the games only look similar. Wonder Boy was programmed by a Japanese company, Escape, who later became West Stone, and was published by Sega. For me, what really sets the game apart is the tone. The colours play a real part in that too. TomTom's golden hair, the bright colours, the convincing shade of the blue sky on the first level repeated throughout the game, all of these add up to create a convincing approximation of sunshine. Compare and contrast with Mario's sickly purple-blue sky, or Pac-Land's primary school world, and it seems to me that this is the first video game that successfully created a world in which the player might actually want to live, or at least want to visit for a short package holiday. I don't think there was anything accidental about this. Escape named themselves after the keyboard key, but also because they wanted to create games that let people escape from reality. I think that's what made Wonder Boy so special, and they really did succeed in doing what they set out to do. Now you might say that TomTom's world is deeply hostile, and his life remains in permanent danger throughout. Not surprising, as the general rule was that arcade games should require a quarter for at least every 3 minutes of play, so it wasn't possible to have extended periods where the player was safe from death. But when you actually look at the game critically, you soon realise that the animals never actually attack TomTom. They're just there doing their own thing, whilst he storms through paradise armed with near-infinite axes and a skateboard. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to suggest there's a slightly satirical edge to this. Wonder Boy, as a blonde kid, is, I think for the Japanese, about as stereotypical an American boy as could exist. If there was any doubt about this, I think the skateboard and helmet take it beyond question. He charges through paradise, destroying everything in his path to fulfill his righteous mission to combat the evil King. Now, there's no doubt that King is a genuine baddie, or at least has been playing too much Donkey Kong, as he's kidnapped Tina. But there's no sign that anyone else is in on King's evil plan. Certainly not the local people, who TomTom mows down without a thought in the world. Now, I'm not about to suggest that this is a knowing satire of the Vietnam War or anything like that, but it certainly does play up to the stereotype of the brash American abroad. Rather than being deliberately satirical, it may be that the Japanese designers just assumed, given national stereotypes, that this was the sort of wish fulfillment that would appeal widely to American kids. Oh look, an evil monster just ran past you, not even trying to interfere with you for a moment. No sign of him trying to attack you, not even for a second. And here is King, in one of his earlier guises. Now, to be fair, King doesn't even actually attack you. He's only walking towards you at this moment, although I think on later levels fireballs are involved. Quite why the heads have to change each time, I'm afraid I haven't been able to work out. In case you think I was exaggerating there, let's have another look at what happens when TomTom meets the locals. Here they are. Hello, oh, heck, what? No. His righteous indignation seems to allow him and his guardian angel to destroy all of them as they dance merrily towards him. Now, I don't think the people who created this game could possibly have put that into the game without being at least a little bit tongue-in-cheek. That said, it is possible that the people who made the game weren't that racially sensitive themselves. Even back in 1986, as a 9-year-old, possibly 10-year-old, my brother and I did find it slightly odd that when he gets burnt to death, not only does he get burnt to a crisp, but he also seems to change race entirely. When the game was originally made, the idea was to have it continually scrolling from left to right, but the team behind it found this made the game just too hard to play, so this aspect was only really retained for the skateboard. Weirdly, this power-up only makes the game harder, but it does increase the ability to speed through the levels. This suggests to me that the focus of the game isn't really about points totals, but rather about maximising flow and speed. There's a direct line from Wonder Boy to Sonic. My wife asked me whether I was going to address the gender politics of Wonder Boy. It would be brave to say Pina's involvement on this level showed a marked step forward since Donkey Kong. I suppose it might have been a tiny step of progress to have a not entirely passive female character, but the fact her warp levels are filled with handbags and other lady goods probably undoes any progress there. It's unfortunate that video game gender politics were copied over indirectly from King Kong, a particularly unsophisticated film from the 30s, but for the most part they were. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now. If you've enjoyed, please subscribe below and feel free to tell me what I've left out. Also, I'm weighing up what games to look at next. Perhaps Outrun, although maybe that's been done to death. Perhaps Renegade's the way to go. Anyway, feel free to suggest whatever you'd most fancy seeing. Bye!